If you're trying to learn how to invest, you don't need to pay somebody to learn. If you're asking me now, would I invest my money into property if I had 50,000 that I wanted to invest? No, I would have put it into property. If you lose your primary source of income, how many months can you sustain your current lifestyle? If the answer is 0, then you shouldn't be investing. There's 2 ways to get rich. There's a fast way and there's a slow way. The fast way, you need your own business or you need a vehicle that's going to make a lot of money in a short space of time. The slow way is investing. That way isn't for everyone.
What would you say is the ultimate money hack that people need to know about?
Ultimate money hack is...
Welcome back to the show, guys. Just a quick one. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of the awesome guests that we have on in the hopes that their story is exactly what you needed to hear on your journey to give you the encouragement and maybe even the inspiration that you were looking for to make a positive change in your life. And remember, the best way to make any changes that last is to first make sure that your environment supports the future you. You want this for both your physical as well as your digital environments, because what you continuously consume, you end up becoming. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so that you're making it easy to get access to an environment that supports your future growth. Enjoy the episode and stay visionary. In today's episode, I'm sitting down with content creator, financial education advocate, and nominee for High Quality Content Creator of the Year with TikTok. He's been creating content for a few short years and has managed to amass a following of over 800,000 followers across social media. Tim Paul, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
That intro is interesting. I like that. Impressive.
Thank you very much.
I'm impressed thinking about it. Oh yeah, I've done that. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No, absolutely. So first of all, just a huge congratulations on being a nominee for Content Creator of the Year with TikTok. How does that feel?
Yeah, I guess it's the ultimate kind of recognition for like the years of, I've been doing TikTok now for like 4 years, and I kind of just fell into it. Like I decided one day I was randomly going to post a video in my bedroom after uni. I'd literally just come home from Brighton, where I spent 3 years, and the video just exploded overnight. And I had no idea that like people even were interested in finance stuff, especially because at that time no one was really posting that on TikTok. So I really took a punt and I went out there, and it just worked. And overnight I felt literally like I owe everything to that moment, that decision, which came in a flash, and I just went and did it. I didn't think. And yeah, after 4 years of doing it, to have this moment where I'm alongside, creators with millions of followers, it's just, it's kind of unbelievable.
So, I mean, that is insane to just think about how social media can change your life within hours, literally. Yeah. So what was that first video that you posted?
It was a random one. It was about lifetime ISAs. So the hook line that I said was how to save £30,000 in 3 years. And I was talking about if you maximize your contributions into the LISA. So for anyone that doesn't know, obviously you can put up to £4,000 a year in a LISA. The government will add a 25% bonus, so it maxes out at 5k a year. So if you and a partner do that over a course of however many years, you're getting a bonus of £1,000 or £2,000 in total each year. And then I was basically explaining that, and people were like, wow, as if I'd like just discovered fire or something, because they just had no idea. So from then I was like, aha, that's my moment, but I need to capitalize on this, because now I can actually run away with this topic and talk about all the other things that I know that maybe others just don't.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit, because you're not someone that was creating content before that moment, is that right?
Correct, yeah. I mean, other than some failed YouTube channels when I was 13, that was it.
Okay. We'll come to the YouTube channels in just a second. So with that video, what did you have to do in the back end to learn how to capture the attention of a potential audience? Because like you said, you were thinking about the hook. Now, I know that you've been creating content for a couple of years. So now you know quite clearly what a hook is, how to engage someone and how to keep their attention. What did you go through to understand like that's what you needed to do in that first video? Or was there any structure behind it at all?
I didn't. There was no structure. There was nothing other than an idea popped into my head, and 10 minutes later, it resulted in a random video where I'm just talking. There was no thought process or whatever. That's where I think there was a big element of luck, because I didn't know anything about hooks and length of video and what you should say, what you shouldn't say, and trying to be concise and explaining everything with facts and figures and screenshots. All of that stuff is like what I've learned over years of trial and error. But at the time, I just thought, I guess, just go try it. There was no thought process behind it at all. So yeah, it just worked.
I'm so glad you said that, because for everyone listening to this right now, whether you're watching this, whether you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, and you're thinking about creating content, you've just heard it from Tim himself, where you don't need to have this experience or knowledge on like what is a hook and how should it be structured. If you've got something to say, pick up your phone, turn the camera on, and say it.
Yeah. The key thing that I would say is like showing up and actually pressing the button to record, showing up consistently every single day. I posted for like 4 months. I posted like at least 2 videos a day when I started out. And obviously I didn't have a job at the time, but put that to one side. I still showed up, and because I wanted to make something of it. I didn't want to let the momentum pass. So for me, that was the most important thing.
So as someone who showed up twice a day, fine, you weren't working at the time, so you maybe had a little bit more time to do that. How did you find topics that were interesting to talk about twice a day? Like, where did your content library come from?
That's a good question. I think back now, because I don't post twice a day. That's never going to happen again. But I think it was a lot of getting feedback from people in the comments and DMs asking me questions, and I can turn the questions into a video idea. Oh, someone's asked about a different type of ISA, stocks and shares ISA. I can make a video about that, and then I go and do some research to make sure that the facts are right, because if your facts aren't right, especially when you're in finance, you get grilled. So it was more about interacting with people, also kind of just checking like the news, like when budgets come out, like the recent budget that Labour announced. Like obviously everyone's making content around that because people want to know what it means for them. So it's a combination of kind of those just random things, really.
Okay, so when you first started creating content, I remember just watching it in your video a couple of days ago when you said at the beginning you were talking to a couple of people about doing more content, and people were like, don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
And you went ahead and did it anyway.
I did, yeah.
What made you press ahead even though people around you were, I wouldn't probably go as strong as saying against the idea, but probably going, why are you wasting your time?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend, she doesn't like me saying this story now, but she was the one. I said, I'm thinking about doing it, like maybe a few days before I actually did it. And she was like, no, I don't think that's going to work. Like, that's a silly idea. And I thought, yeah, maybe it is, but what do I have to lose? That was really it. Like, to me, it was a no-brainer, because all I've wasted is 10 minutes of my time. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If someone that knows me sees it and says, oh, you look like an idiot, it's worth the risk. I don't really care. That was it.
I love that you said that as well, because I know that I myself stopped myself from creating content when I had the idea, when I had the inspiration, purely because I was worried what someone else is going to think.
Yeah.
And now that I've started making videos more consistently, you realize the people that you're worried about and who might judge you don't actually give a fuck.
They don't. No one cares. No one cares as much as you think they're going to care. But it's just one of those where I didn't really tell. I only told my girlfriend and my family. I didn't tell any friends at the time, because there was still that level of like kind of embarrassment, like cringe. Because like when I'm watching the videos back, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm thinking that other people are going to think the same, but in reality, it's not that. Everyone's their own worst critic at the end of the day, I think. So that's probably where that kind of comes from.
So that bridges me perfectly onto the next question here, which is, this podcast is called The Mindful Creator. And the purpose behind it is that everyone can create anything that they want in life, as long as they're being mindful around what it is they're choosing to create. Now, for you specifically, how do you practice being mindful, especially when it comes to things around finance and your area of specialism?
Mm-hmm. Good question. I mean, for me, I will sit down and think about what it is that I'm trying to achieve. I don't do it often enough, but I try and think about what's my like mission statement, what's my like long-term goals, how do I want to impact people with my content? Do I want to just be a content creator, or do I want to actually have impact? And I know we were talking off camera about like Simon Scribb, and I think he's a great example of how he uses his platform for positive change to really impact people and help change their lives. And on a smaller scale, like when I met him the other day, I was speaking about like, what can I do to kind of embody that just on a smaller scale? And I think that's what really drives me kind of long term. I think about how I can just have the most impact and provide the most value to the people that want to hear it and will listen.
Define what impact means to you.
So for me, I would define impact as at least one person will listen to something I've said and take action after they've watched my video. That to me is the impact that I seek. And if I achieve that, and obviously as a content creator, it's natural to get lost in the metrics sometimes, but the bottom line is if I get one person to take my advice and actually listen and action it, that's my impact. That's my goal achieved.
Have you had any messages from people throughout your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Talking about what they've done?
Yeah, some of my uni friends, I remember they messaged me after that Lifetime ISA video and they said, thank you so much, because now we're on our way to buying a house, and eventually a year later or 2 years later, I can't remember, they ended up getting one down in Eastbourne. And that was, they originally saw the video, put their money in the Lifetime ISA and then did it. But yeah, there's been lots of those. And that's like, again, that's like small little tokens of like vindication to say, keep going.
Isn't that super interesting that you only spoke to your girlfriend and your mum about doing the videos, and you didn't tell your friends because of that worry about potentially being judged, and yet they're the ones reaching out saying thank you for putting out that information.
Yeah,
that's mental.
Lesson there, isn't it?
Yeah. So you've recently been in a position, fortunate enough to leave your 9-to-5 job.
Yes.
So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Let's start off with this, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people listening to this because they want to create their dream life, and a lot of people's dream life is not in a 9-to-5. Yeah. What did you put in place for yourself that allowed you to be in a position to leave your 9-to-5? Mm-hmm. What made it practically possible for you?
Yeah. So I guess the position that I was in for the past 4 years was making content and working a full-time job, and I was juggling those two things. And you know, after about a year or so into the content journey, the income started to pick up, and each year it picked up and up and up, and eventually it overtook my job income. And for me, I'm quite a risk-averse person by nature, so even though the money that I was making was great from TikTok and brand deals and all of that, it's not necessarily the most stable income. So for me, at the start of this year, I thought, how can I create a stable income that I know if I didn't do anything, it would still be there month on month, within reason, obviously. But it was all about trying to figure out how I can replace the stable income that I got from a job. And so I looked at the qualification that I'm doing. You know, I'm CIMA certified now, which was awful to get to. Oh gosh, don't want to talk about that.
I kind of know the feeling because I did accounting and finance as a degree. I just didn't go through the accounting route, so I can only imagine what you've been through.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fun. Especially doing two things is okay. Doing three was awful. So yeah, studying, content, job was not nice. So it was really about, I thought, why don't I use that? So I set up my own accountancy practice. That's been running now, and obviously I kind of combined my knowledge and background in accounting with obviously my experience making content. So I thought, well, why not create social media for the accountancy and reach people that way? And that's how we're getting clients. And now I've already got nearly 50 clients purely from social media. And it's all been inbound because people see the content, they like it. It's not what any other accountant is doing. There's only like 5 of us on social media. So there's a lot of demand, but there's not much supply. So right now I'm just rinsing that and it's working. And then once that got to a point around about summer, that was when I kind of handed in my notice, because I thought, yeah, it's the stable income that's there. I've got the less stable TikTok income on the side as well. That's all I need to really go full throttle and build it to however high I can build it. We'll see.
That is amazing. So huge congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, when you've been getting clients for your own practice, has there been a specific focus of client that you've been targeting through your social media? Or has it been just a whole host of different types of businesses that have just been drawn to you because of your content?
The ones with money. No. It's to be fair, it's crazy the types of people that you can reach just through like a TikTok video, which I never would have thought. Like we've got some like multi-million-pound business owners that have found us on Instagram. So that to me, that blows my mind. But it's really, it varies. Like we've got all sorts of different industries, all sorts of different sizes, from like 20 grand up to a few million in annual turnover on our book. So it's a massive variation. I don't really want to niche down just so much. Like I did think doing the influencer, kind of being like an accountant for influencers, would be a great niche to go into, but I don't want to pigeonhole too soon. So yeah, but the reach, I mean, because you can't really control who you're going to reach. To be honest, you know, whoever sees it, and it just so happens to be just kind of anyone and everyone with a business that reaches out. And yeah,
that is amazing. So are there people that have reached out to you, like you said, like multi-million-pound business owners, that you would have maybe sat there for a moment thinking, I had no idea someone like this would even watch my content?
Yes, yeah. It was massive imposter syndrome moments as well, getting on those calls and like they tell you the numbers and I'm thinking, wow, like they see me in a regard where they are willing to trust me enough to manage that and deal with that and provide them with a service that is like a real, that kind of moment was like, wow, that's imposter syndrome. Yeah, like it's crazy to me that, you know, I'm able to do that now.
How are you dealing with that?
As best I can, you know. There's no rule book on it, you know. You just have to get on and do it as best you can. And I've got a business partner who's got more experience in that side of things, so I focus more on front end. But we're learning as we go. You know, no one has the answers to everything. We just have to try and make the best of it that we can.
So you've partnered with someone in this business, so it's just the two of you as partners.
Correct, yeah.
How important has it been for you to be with someone who's got more experience versus, because you've got quite a decent reach from your social media, and I'm assuming that you probably have the ability to get these clients by yourself anyway. How important has it been to have someone there as a partner in the business, and why did you decide that that was the route to go down?
Yeah, I can't stress enough how important it is bringing in somebody that can do the things that you can't, or is better at certain things that you're not as good at. Like we complement each other so well because he is 100% doesn't want to be in front of the camera, doesn't want to do like the marketing and promotion, but that's the stuff that I love and I can do that, and the sales and talk to people, and then he gets on and he does the work and he can manage that, manage employees and that kind of thing. So it works perfectly. It's literally like a match made in heaven. And yeah, me and Ben we're happy with it. So
shout out to Ben.
Shout out to Ben. Yeah, exactly. So no, we're really like motivated next year. I think we're gonna have a big year.
How did you guys meet each other?
We just met through network. Network. I think on LinkedIn. I think I met him. To be honest, I reached out because when I had the idea, I was trying to look for, you know, some people that I could partner with, and I found his page and I thought, yeah, he ticks the boxes, and it was the right decision.
Amazing. Now let's go back to your career. So before the business, now there's a lot of people that might be thinking about their career. They might be coming to the end of either finishing a degree, or they might even be thinking about switching careers. And one of the things that most people, and I remember I went through this a lot, and I'm sure you went through this as well, where people are trying to decide, do they get a normal job or do they go for a graduate scheme? What was your opinion about what was the best option for you, and what route did you actually take?
Yeah, so I ended up getting a grad job with Deloitte. I almost forgot there. It's only been a month since I left.
It's so far behind you now. You just left that world.
So I got a grad job with Deloitte, and for me, I wanted to go like London, big corporate company, because I wanted to just get as much exposure to meeting new people. And like the good thing about that is that although you are kind of like a cog in the machine, like they do kind of just see you as a resource, as opposed to kind of having that more kind of personal relationship with clients and with your seniors. There is definitely that kind of corporate culture, but you start with like 50 other graduates and they're all in the same position as you. They're all doing the first job for the first time and the first tasks and making mistakes and learning. And it was really, really helpful to me. I met some great people at Deloitte over my 4 years, and people that I hope to stay in touch with for many, many years to come, because we're all going through the same things at the same time. And that I think was really, really beneficial. And I wanted that. And I learned a lot from from that job in terms of how to deal with, I guess, difficult people and be in rooms with, again, I guess big corporate business owners and like people that are high up and well respected in their field, and kind of navigate those kind of relationships. So it definitely had a benefit on me. There was, I definitely benefited from it, even if at the time I didn't necessarily realize it as much.
Do you think that for people that might get hung up on this idea of graduate job versus normal position, if someone isn't able to get a graduate job because they're highly competitive and obviously not everyone gets one, what would you say to the person that doesn't get one? What could they do to help their career to be fast-tracked as much as possible? Hey guys, just a quick one. This video is sponsored by Poddify, our podcast-based marketing and content creation agency that really helps our clients to create content that builds awareness, showcases authority, and keeps it authentic. This is so important because Google's research shows that for prospects to become clients, they need to consume at least 7 hours of content across 11 different touch points on at least 4 different platforms. So with more personal branding style content out there, the last thing that your prospects want to see on your socials are those posts that say, buy my stuff. So if you're a business owner or you know someone that could use our expertise and service in creating the right type of content, then get in touch using the link below in the description and we'll give you a free consultation to see if and how we can help you. Thanks so much. And for now, let's get back to the episode. Similar to what a graduate job offers someone.
Well, I guess the one thing is that you don't only get one shot. So when you graduate, or when I graduated from uni, I was searching for a job for months and months and months because I didn't really put any effort into work experience. I was just there to get the degree, and I thought that was all you needed. That was very much not the case. And other students realized it, but I didn't. So I was kind of behind. I had a week in a wealth management firm, which I hated. So I knew I didn't want to go there. And that was all I had. So I had to think on my feet. So the thing I would say is I ended up getting lucky because I landed the role in the end with the company that I wanted. But it's not over if you don't get the grad role as your first position. It's fine to take something in a different field or lower down just to get the experience for 3 months, 6 months, even a year, and then you can reapply. And by the time you reapply, I mean, to be fair, the salaries do tend to go up every year, at least in my experience. Like the grads now are on way more than what I was on when I was a grad. So I wouldn't worry too much about the salary side of things. Get a job, get some experience, and in 12 months' time, when you reapply, you'll be the best candidate because you've got way more experience now than what the other grads that are leaving uni have. So, and that's one of the things that I know that one of my colleagues did. He joined Deloitte, but he wanted to go into investment banking, but he couldn't get it because the investment banking jobs are like super competitive. You've got like the Oxbridge, candidates going for those. So what he did was like 2 years at Deloitte, and now he's going into investment banking, and it's easy for him because you've got Deloitte on your CV. They'll take you over a Cambridge graduate or someone who's got those 2 years experience. You're leveling the playing field. So I would say just don't feel like you've missed your chance if you don't get it the first time round.
Let's flip this for a second then. So that's someone who is looking to get a job, whether it's graduate or normal position. For people listening to this who are thinking that, corporates are like the evil thing to go into.
Devil.
Yeah, literally. And that you shouldn't get a job, like you should start your own business right from the beginning. Do you have, as someone who's been through the corporate world and in a grad position, who's now got his own business as well, do you have any words of advice or wisdom for someone who's maybe unknowingly completely against corporate life? Do you have any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, I would say your best bet is getting a job, I think, to be honest, would still be the best thing. And use that time, use the money and the income to build the business. So it doesn't have to be like a proper rigid 9-to-5 job. It could be a part-time job. It could be something that just allows you to have the flexibility and the freedom to work on your business in evenings or weekends or whatever it is. But I would not necessarily say just go all in on the business straight away. I know there is a lot of like students out there that kind of don't really see themselves working the job and whatnot, but it doesn't have to be permanent. You know, just because you get the job, you don't have to get stuck in it and then that's it for 40 years of your career. You can use your spare time to try and build it and supplement your lifestyle with that kind of stable income. I think that's probably the smartest way to go about it. Obviously, some people do take the risk, and because they go all in and they work non-stop on it, they can make it work a bit quicker, but it's high risk. So I would probably take the more cautious route, like I did.
Fair enough. So I'm actually doing a talk tomorrow around sales specifically, and I think there's a narrative around the word entrepreneur or business owner or putting CEO on your socials or whatever it is, or however someone decides to put it out there, that sounds sexier than saying I'm employed.
True.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, it does.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do now, and going to put out more content about this as well, is change the word entrepreneur to salesperson, because that's effectively what you are.
Yeah.
Because when you're running your own business, especially if it's a service-based business, and you know this being the front man for your own business as well.
Sales calls, nothing
it's
but
sales
calls.
calls.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you're doing. So change the word entrepreneur to salesperson and see how that feels. And if you feel excited about doing the thing that you said you were going to do, being a salesperson, then maybe go ahead and do that thing. But if you don't, and all of a sudden it doesn't appeal as much, it's an opportunity to ask yourself, was it the sexy thing that you were chasing, or was it the business that you were actually going for?
It's a very good point. Yeah, it's a very good way of looking at it, because I mean, you hear a lot of people say, build a business for money or build a business that you love. The way I think about it is, if you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still do the things that you're doing now? And for me, now the answer is yes. I would still do everything that I do in my day, no matter how much money I have, because I enjoy it and it motivates me and I feel fulfilled by building something that I can call my own.
Let's talk a little bit about investing.
Yeah,
considering that was the first TikTok video you ever made. So thanks to social media, thanks to people like yourself, there are a lot more people at a younger age becoming so much more aware of being able to invest, what investing means, how to do it. I mean, you just have to look on YouTube to see how many tutorials there are on how to get started with investing. From your experience and from everything that you've shared, what do you think are some of the fundamentals that young people need to know about getting started in investing?
Yeah, arguably it's the biggest topic that I get interest in on my pages on socials, is like starting to invest. And that ranges from people that are 18 all the way up to people that are in their 40s. Like, it's a really, really wide variation of people that are really interested in learning more. The issue that I see is people have a big misconception about investing, like what it actually is and how it can actually benefit you. So fundamentally, I would say the first thing you need to look at is, if you lose your primary source of income right now, how many months can you sustain your current lifestyle? If the answer is 0, then you shouldn't be investing. That's kind of the first thing I would say, because 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a cash ISA or a high yield savings account, that's like prerequisite fundamental. Next is, okay, if you're going to think about investing, forget day trading, forget quick buck, forget this millionaire lifestyle stock traders that you see in America or wherever you see them, because they float about, but they're not real. That's like fake. That's the fake side of the social media investing world. Think about time horizons of 10 years. So 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. If you invest your money now, it compounds over time, which is why it's great when you start when you're young, because the longer you do it, the more benefit you can get in the long run. And that's why people say it's about time in the market, not timing the market, because it doesn't matter when you get in, it's just that you get in and take action. So those would be the two things that I would say. Ignore the nonsense that you see about get rich quick, make sure that you've got living expenses covered first, and then invest in long intervals of 10 years.
What's your opinion on people who sell courses around how to invest?
Yeah, I don't mind it. But it just depends on what the message is that you're trying to convey. And the thing I would say is, if you're trying to learn how to invest, you don't need to pay somebody to learn. Like you mentioned, there is a lot of free education out there. I don't think that it's required to pay somebody to learn to invest, unless you're speaking to like a financial advisor and you're paying them to help you actually do it. I would say that money is better off being invested. But at the same time, some people they feel like they need the helping hand, and they feel like they want to get something more than just, videos online, which is fair enough. Of course, so be it. But I would question how good is the information, how different is the information going to be in the course compared to what you can get online for free.
So we covered young people.
Yep.
What about people in their 30s and 40s? If they've not had the awareness to start their investment journey earlier, and now they're becoming aware of it for the exact same reasons that younger people are, because it's just out there so much more and people are now talking about it. For someone in their 30s and 40s, what would you say to that person who's just about to, or thinking about starting their investment journey?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is it's not too late. It's never too late to start. The one thing that I would start to consider as you get older is the trade-off between investing and putting money into your pension, because that's, at some point, that has to come into play. And obviously, when you're a little bit older, you're closer to obviously the retirement age, and if you're putting contributions in, you up your contributions, your employer hopefully will be matching that as you increase. So that pot is going to grow very, very quickly, and the benefit of that is that also gets invested on your behalf as well, and you have your employer matching it. So that arguably would grow quicker. So you would maybe have to make a decision of how much you want to, I guess there's more of an opportunity cost the older you get as to whether you should put it into a pension or you should invest it. Not to say that you shouldn't invest it if you're already happy with the contributions that you're making. I would say the first thing is make sure that you're happy with the contributions that you're making. And if that's already sorted and fine, then think about investing. 15 to 20 years still is absolutely a fine time horizon to still make a good benefit.
So going back to the idea of following through with like the sexy thing to do. So there's so many different vehicles to be able to invest. You've got your stocks and shares, you've got your ETFs, you've got your managed funds, and then you've got property, and then you've got things like crypto as well.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So
I was wondering when we were going to talk about that.
Well, you've seen what's been happening in the market, I'm sure, over the last couple of weeks. What is your opinion of, let's start with property, and then we can go into crypto as well.
Property, my opinion is kind of changing. I think if you're asking me now, would I invest my money into property if I had 50,000 that I wanted to invest? No, I wouldn't put it into property personally. I think with interest rates and everything being so high and the market fluctuating, there's not a lot of margin at the moment in like property investing, especially if you're trying to do like a buy to let or refurbs and flip, that kind of thing. It can still be done, but the amount of return that you're going to get, you might get like 6%. And you're going to go through a lot of effort. Like, that's not passive, that's like active. You have to make sure that you're like managing that like almost day to day. If you're going to invest in a property, you manage tenants and things like that. Obviously you can outsource it, but then you're getting even lower margins. So at best, you're probably looking at 6 or 7% on property at the moment, whereas in the stock market, you're probably going to get 10 or more. If you're investing over a period of 10 years, the chances of you losing money goes down to about like 1% or something.
What about this idea of property being safer because it's a tangible asset that you can go and feel, see, touch, because it's real bricks and mortar, versus money going into a index fund?
Yeah. To be fair, it's safer, but I'm thinking in terms of if you want bang for your buck, and if you're comparing it to kind of amount of time that you have to put in to the reward that you get, I wouldn't go down the property route as much. To be fair, that's probably just my personal opinion from what I've seen, and like my parents have some property, and yeah, it's quite stressful. So yeah, I'm a little bit put off, I guess, to be honest.
And what about crypto?
Yeah, I mean, crypto is a different beast. It's a different world. I mean, it's difficult to dissuade people when you see stories of put $1,000 in have now got 40 grand out. But on the flip side of that, and I know someone very close to me who put in 50 grand, lost 50 grand. So there's two sides to that, but you're not ever going to hear the bad stories because people don't talk about the bad. They only talk about the good. So the issue is that people get, flock to that and jump on the trend. But by the time it's a trend, it's too late. And that's typically how every market works. You have to either get lucky or seriously know what you're doing. And typically only the big hedge funds know what they're doing. Everyone else is kind of just dancing to their tune. So I'm not keen on it. I wouldn't put more than 15% of like my investment portfolio into crypto, but small amounts I think is fine. Everyone likes a little bit of a risk because, it's a bit fun. It's like, I guess a gamble in a sense, but I wouldn't be all in on crypto. That's definitely not my thing. Even though it is going to the moon at the moment, which is kind of annoying because I sold, but yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about those percentages, because you split your finances up in a specific way to be able to allocate things to help build your funds. So what does that look like for you? So someone listening to this who's basically, the way I'm thinking about this is the person listening has a current account and a savings account. And that's how they manage their money. What do you do with your money that allows you to manage it really well so that you've got an idea of what's going into investments, etc.?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few different things. One kind of method that I talk about quite often is 50-30-20 or 70-20-10, but we'll do the 50-30-20 for the example. So 50% on your living expenses, so you get your paycheck and no more than 50% of that net income after taxes deducted should be going on your bills, essentials, rent, food, everything like that. Then 30% you want to spend on yourself. And I always get people questioning that in my videos, but they're like, really? And I'm saying, yeah, because at the end of the day, it can be less or it can be more. But for me, there is no point in a budget where you don't give anything to yourself, because it has to be sustainable. And it's only ever going to be sustainable or something that you stick to if it's not too rigid and infringing on your actual lifestyle and happiness and enjoyment. So I always say that the most important part of the budget is how much you actually give yourself to just be free, because you have to feed that. Otherwise, if you don't do anything, you save all of your income and you don't spend anything on yourself ever, at some point that urge is going to build and build and build, and you might end up doing something stupid. So I always say that allocate a small amount to yourself just to feed that impulse every now and again. And then 20%, so 50-30, and then 20% comes in where you put it into savings and investments. And that would be ideally, if you're investing, stocks and shares, ISA, and if you're saving, then a cash ISA with a decent interest rate.
That concept is genius, because it's kind of like what you'd expect for someone who's going through like a really strict diet.
Yeah, exactly.
If you
cheat day.
Yeah, because if you restrict yourself so much where you don't have any cheat days, and you do that for 3 months, you're going to end up celebrating on the 4th month with a jar of Nutella.
Exactly.
And the reason I say that is because that's exactly what I did. So you just hearing you say that out loud makes so much sense.
Yeah, we apply it to other disciplines, like you said, but why not to our finances as well?
There you go. So you guys heard it here first. Make sure you have some fun with your money, because otherwise, what are you working for?
Exactly.
So sticking on this point, with 50% being allocated to living expenses, that for some people is probably quite easy to do, and for some people is probably quite difficult to...
The ones in London.
Yeah, exactly. So for those people where that becomes a lot harder to stretch that amount of money to live in that 50%, what do you say to that person? Like, what's the thing that they could do to make sure that it was only 50% of their money going towards living?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to do is to actually figure out where are you at. So if you're somebody that is not having 100% of their income come in and then go out every month, you're already doing something that's contributing to helping you save and build wealth. So that's the first thing. But then I would say you need to calculate how much of your income goes towards that essentials pillar of, rent and living expenses, essentials. If that's, say, 70%, 80%, 90%, sit down, tally up every single thing in a spreadsheet that all your outgoings are, look at them, and then just go through and make sure that you actually need every single one. Because I mean, I downloaded, not even that long ago, I downloaded like a savings app, and you use it for a month, and then it'll categorize all your expenses and say, oh, this subscription. And I'm like, whoa, I forgot. I don't need that. And it sounds small, but small wins, you take it, right? So
I'm laughing because Chris is sitting here in the background and I know she's staring at me because this morning, she was looking at our finances and she goes, there's 2 subscriptions here that you're just wasting £120 a month on.
I was the same, yeah.
And I was like, shit.
You just forget about it, but everybody does it. So start with the expenses, because that's the thing, like, that a lot of people struggle to control. So whether it's, your travel, whether it's, for a lot of people, it's going to be their rent is just very, very high, especially if they're living in London. It's difficult to change that in an instant. You can't necessarily do that. So you have to pick up the easy wins where you can and work out what absolute essential expenses you can't get rid of, and then look at the ones that you can get rid of and start there.
And it's about being ruthless as well. And this is where the mindfulness side of it comes in as well, because essentially what you're saying is be aware of what it is you're actually paying for.
Yeah.
Because once you become aware of that, now you can choose, you can either carry on paying for those things, or if they're not 100% essential, then you can stop paying for those things and then allocate that money somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've got to ask you, by the way. So you've obviously got a huge following on TikTok and Instagram. And on TikTok, you're known as Temper Time.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that name come from? What does that even mean?
I still ask myself this question. Okay, so this is embarrassing, but so when I was, I don't know, like 12 or 13, I got my first Xbox 360, and I wanted to figure out I was like trying to decide what my gamer tag is going to be. That's what you call yourself online. And there was a Tiny Temper song on in the background, and I thought, I
had a feeling I started to do it.
My name's Tim. He's Tiny Temper. I don't know. It felt right in the moment, so I called myself TD Temper HD, and the temper. That's where the temper comes from. Not that I'm a big Tiny Temper fan. For anyone that's watching this, I'm not. It just so happened to be like in the moment, and that stuck with me. So when it came to making the TikTok account, I guess I went through that same process, and I just remembered the name, and I thought Temper Time is. I wanted it to be T because that's the first letter of my name, and that's about as much thought as I put into it. Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked you this question, because anyone listening to this thinking about starting to create content and you're worried about what you're going to call your page, you've just heard it. Like, Tim's got over 800,000 followers across socials, and the name that is on TikTok, which is where your biggest following is a name that you basically didn't even really have to think about, and you just didn't care. You just put it down.
The name couldn't be less important. If you're struggling that much, just go with your actual name rather than a silly game attack. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about your following, and for anyone else that's trying to build a social media following.
Yeah.
So if obviously you posted that first video, it took you 10 minutes to do it, and it just blew up.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that kind of fortune, especially at the beginning of, and I think TikTok's still got the ability to make people go viral very quickly, but it's a lot more crowded than it was pre-COVID. Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's trying to build their following? Like, what are some of the things that you've done that's helped you maintain a rate of growth?
Yeah. I guess the first thing I would say is when people hear about, the first video blew up, you got lucky, like, that's it, you were sorted. I was up here, but then what happened is my next videos, it crashed, obviously, but I carried on going because obviously I got that taste. So that gave me some more added motivation. But when I said earlier, like, I was showing up consistently, posting 2-3 times a day for months, not every single one of those videos did well. Loads of them flopped, And
did you get put into that 200 view
Not
jail
quite.
ever?
Not quite that.
No, never?
No,
okay.
No, I didn't get put in the 200 view jail, which is very weird right now. That's the thing. But it was definitely low compared to, because I was expecting this, but then I was getting this consistently, and I was thinking one hit wonder. I was constantly thinking that, but eventually you show up long enough, you're going to find out what works, and something will blow up again. And as soon as you see what works, you just try and replicate it and you keep going, you try new things. It is literally about trial and error. That's the only thing I could say. And TikTok themselves, they don't necessarily require the content to be as high quality, as possible. They care more about quantity over quality. So, you've got some of the biggest creators in the space in the UK, and they still film on their phone, they film in their car, they don't have like a massive, expensive camera or mic or light. It's literally just a phone camera and it's them talking. But what they're saying, people are so invested that they watch anyway. So it's really about showing up. Consistency is literally the foundation of everything, and then finding your voice along the way, finding what works, it comes later down the line.
Is there a formula that you found that works for your type of video specifically?
I'd say yes, there is a formula. There's a process. There's no like hidden secret. Like the one thing I see that annoys me is there's so many like social media like coaches and gurus that say this is the secret formula to blowing up and going viral. There isn't one. Like even now, I don't really know how the TikTok algorithm works. No one does. No one ever will. It just is a thing that exists.
So all those videos that are coming out going, this is what you need to do to beat the algorithm, what would you say to that?
You can't beat the algorithm. It is nonsense. I don't want to swear, but that I would. It really
You're
is.
allowed to swear, by the way.
Okay, it's shit. It's bullshit. I would. Sorry, I forgot what the question was.
So the formula.
Yeah. So the formula, I have a process, and I'm actually making a video. I'm partnering with TikTok right now to make some content about my process and how I film content, and that's going to go live, I think, probably this week. So this is pretty much what I've talked about, but I think about an idea, I think about a concept, and I have like a criteria. So my criteria will be, it has to be something either that it's personal or relatable to me. So I talk about how I budget my money or how I invest, because people are interested in that and people are quite nosy. It has to be something that is trending or newsworthy. So it will be, the government's budget that's just been announced. I can make content on that. People are talking about it. People are searching for it. The chances are my video is going to get seen. And if it has to fit one of those categories. There is one more, but I actually can't remember off the top of my head. But essentially, I have those three. There's three. I've only spoke about two. Can I just check on my phone?
Yeah, go for it.
Right?
So yeah,
because I've got a script that I spoke about.
So the first thing is to make content around something that is relatable to you.
Yes, I've got it. So yeah, trending or newsworthy, relatable to me, or it has to be something that people struggle with. So the investing, that comes into play. It's something that a lot of people struggle with and they don't have as much knowledge on. So that's why that one's very, very popular and important. So for me, it's one of those three. Every one of my videos will usually fit into at least one of those categories. If it doesn't, then I wouldn't make the content in the first place. That's kind of the only thing I could say in terms of like a structure or formula that I follow. The rest is literally down to you. You can communicate it in however which way you want to, but the idea probably makes up 90% of it.
And with the idea of things that people struggle with, how is there any way that you can do research on those things that people might be struggling with? So if someone thinking about, I want to try and use an example that's away from what you do just to get an idea of how your mind works. So if we use, I don't know, someone who's into cooking as an example, and if they're thinking about one of those three pillars and they're looking at the pillar of what do people struggle with, what would you say to that person who is wanting to make that content? Where could they go and do some research around that topic, and how could they get ideas?
The first thing, I guess the first place to look is at yourself. What do you struggle with? Because if you struggle with something or had to overcome something, a challenge, a difficulty, the chances are there's like thousands of other people that have gone through the same thing. So for me, I'm doing a house renovation series because I've been saving with my partner to buy a house. And obviously everyone knows that for young people, it's very near on impossible to get on the property ladder. So I'm talking about that, and that's relatable. It performs well because it's something that other people struggle with. So looking inward is one thing. Again, if you've been making content for a while, the feedback that you get, questions, comments, DMs, that's always really, really important. Even like going live on TikTok, and like that's a great way to engage with people and like get an understanding, because a lot of the time people won't necessarily ask you questions when they see your video, but when they see you on the live and they know that they're going to get the answer, because a lot of people, they see like hundreds of thousands of followers and they think, oh, he's not going to reply. So, but when you're on the live, they message, you actually respond. So that's a great way to get people, like your audience, to actually ask you questions that you might not get from people if you are just making the content and posting it. And the other thing is, I mean, there's some websites that you can look at, like Google Trends for your specific topics and what stuff, but I don't necessarily use that. I prefer to just get feedback and think about myself and general like news topics. I guess finance is so relatable. There's always something going on to do with the government and what they're changing and what they're not changing, and a tax scheme, this and that. So for me, for my sense, I guess it's quite, I guess I can probably have it quite easier than some other industries. Like when you mentioned cooking, it's like, how do you know what to do? But I guess it's a case of just give it a go and see what works.
But I love how you said that, which is like, what do you struggle with? And I'm just thinking about like myself back when I was in uni. Like, okay, well, I used to make scrambled eggs in a microwave. I used to use a Pyrex jug. I used to crack 2 eggs in a
I would love to see how that turned
Pyrex
out.
jug. It was fucking decent.
It was,
it was actually really good. Bit of ketchup on the side.
That would go viral.
Yeah.
That would go viral.
But that's how we used to make it, because we had a shared stove and it was disgusting, because you had like 10 people living on the floor in our halls in East London where I went to uni, and you'd crack the eggs in there. And the idea of cooking on the pan on that stove just was like, you'd rather just not eat. So the microwave was semi-clean. So that was where
the best alternative.
Literally. So I cracked some eggs in there, put a dash of milk, whisked it up, microwaved it for about 2 minutes, and then it would just fluff up. And that's how
like
I
an
ate.
omelette kind of thing.
Literally. But like cylindrical.
Really?
Yeah, because it would take the shape of
bit
the
like
jug.
a muffin.
Kind of. Yeah,
egg
so then you
muffin.
use your fork to like break it up and then pour it out onto your plate with some toast. Golden.
Honestly, if you post that, you're going to get a brand deal. Like, someone's going to come after you.
Yeah, probably like the
Snap that
Pyrex jug brand deal,
Yeah.
like some egg manufacturer
That's
deal. I don't eat
crazy.
eggs anymore, but that's a different story.
I wonder
So,
why.
Yeah.
They scarred from the egg muffin.
That's the thing that made me go vegan. But no, that's super interesting, because you can then come up with ideas like that. Like, oh, do you struggle to cook, or do you not have space to cook? There's different ideas. Is your daily meal beans on toast? Like, these are different ideas that you can then come up with to then use that as inspiration for new content.
Yeah, and the other thing as well that I didn't mention is looking at what's working for others in a certain industry or niche. That's always a great way to try and find ideas. So like, if you scroll on the For You page and you see specific content related to the cooking videos that you want to do, it's on the For You page for a reason. Chances are they're doing something right. So you can take that and put your own spin on it, and then that's a video for you.
Awesome. Now, not too long ago, you got to sit down with our previous Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
How was that experience?
That was another like just mind blowing moment of like, I remember when I got the call. So like, it all happened so fast. So they contacted me. I think it was the PR team at Number 10, and it was like on Tuesday or a Monday, and they'd said, we're really interested in you getting you to come in. Are you free for a call? And I thought, oh, that was really cool. I get to go and see the Number 10 and maybe get a tour. That'd be great. And that's all I thought it was. And then I get on the call. I get on a call with this lady, and she says, so we're going to get you to film some content outside. Then you go in and speak to him for about 5 minutes, and you'll come back outside. And I was like, whoa, hold on. And you slow down a minute. Speak to who? And she said, yeah, the PM. He's got a 5-minute slot for you. And I thought, I just didn't say anything. And then 10 seconds go by, and she was like, oh, can you not make it? I was like, no, I can make it. I'll be there. I just, wow. And so, yeah, that moment was like, and it was like 2 days time that I was going to go and do it. So I had no time to prep or anything and like prepare questions. But he was actually really, really nice. Like I know only had 5 minutes to ask the questions, but instantly, like as soon as I walked in the room, I shook his hand, and he was like, oh, hi Tim, nice to meet you. Like, I've seen some of your content and it's really, really great. I like what you do. Whether he actually knew or they just showed him 5 minutes before I walked in.
Just a quick scroll before you walked in.
We'll never know, but he made me feel really at ease and like, oh, okay, he's just a guy. Like, we're just going to sit down and have a chat. And to be honest, like I don't even really remember how it went. Like, it wasn't until I got the footage I was like, oh, okay, I did do all right. I didn't like fumble my way through it. I managed to get my questions out, and he gave like politicians' answers, but the experience itself was just like something that I'll never forget. And I always think now, like I've got a picture of me and Rishi Sunak on my wall.
I mean, not many people in the world can say that.
Yeah.
Was there anything specific that you took away from that opportunity in that interview that has been a significant learning for you from him?
That's interesting. No, I don't think there was any learnings, to be honest. Probably half the reason is because I don't remember what went on in the room. I was just like completely blacked out. But learnings from it, no, to be honest, I don't think there is.
Fair enough.
Just a great experience, and yeah, that's about it.
So we're about to wrap up with my final set of questions that I do with every single one of my guests. But before we do, one question I want to ask you is, if you could boil it down to just one thing, what would you say is the ultimate money hack that people need to know about today?
Ultimate money hack is, to be honest, I would say making your money work for you on your spending, on your saving, on your budgeting. Always think about where you can pick up the easy wins, credit cards, cashback, apps that help you save money, budgeting trackers. Every single aspect of your finances, there is an easy win somewhere, so find it.
Awesome. So I normally go into people's, my guests' social media to see what kind of quotes and things like that they post to get an insight into their mind. Now, you don't really post many quotes and things like that, so it's a bit of a challenge for me, but I liked it, which is good because I've not had to do this before. So the first thing was actually someone's comment on one of your posts, which you responded to, and I just wanted to get your take in person. Yeah. So they said, "What's the point of being rich when I'm old? I want money now."
You've done your research.
I have done my research.
I remember that comment. What did I respond?
Well, I want to get your take for how you respond to that now, because I know how you responded on there, and I'll repeat that back in just a second. Yeah. But what is your take on that now?
Now you're going to find out if I was being honest in the comment.
Yeah, we're about to find out.
Yeah, to be if I'm
tag the video on this
if I'm completely honest, my response to that is fair enough. If that's you and that's your mindset, then there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say there's two ways to get rich. There's a fast way and there's a slow way. The fast way, you need your own business or you need a vehicle that's going to make a lot of money in a short space of time. The slow way is investing. That way isn't for everyone. So pick your vehicle.
I mean, I love it because you're still quite consistent to what you said, and what, yeah, you are, and what you kind of elaborated on the video as well was more like, this is the mindset that keeps you poor, essentially, because you're trying to look for quick and easy wins, which don't really exist. And that comes down to what you just said, which is you can do it in both ways, but you can only do it if you've got the right vehicle to do it in. Yeah. You can't do the investing thing at the speed at which you do a business thing, because those two things don't match.
Exactly.
Unless you hit it lucky with some crypto that goes to the moon.
Exactly that, yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair, it's happened for some people, but it's not going to happen for me, that's for sure.
What are your top 3 passive income opportunities that you see as like something that people should get into?
Passive income. See, I don't really put much in. I guess the one thing I would say is high yield savings account is a must. So I have like a portion of funds in there, and that's just a small amount of interest every single month.
When you say high yield, what kind of percentage are you thinking?
So it's about 4.6%, which is still decent. And obviously it's better the more money that you've got to put in it. So that's one thing that I've got. The other is obviously, I guess, to be honest, is there any other like passive? Because I mean, I would say investing, but like I wouldn't really consider that. It is passive, but it's not money that you're going to touch. So I consider it an option, but I don't necessarily consider it like an active option. It's more like a long-term option. So other than that, that's probably my only one that I get passive income from. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm missing 2 there, but
no, that's fine. It doesn't have to be 3. So, final 3 questions that I'd ask every single one of my guests. First one: what do you think is the most essential skill for someone to learn to be successful in today's world?
Most important skill.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna say. Oh, it's interesting. I'm thinking of multiple.
I'll let you have a couple of options on this one because you had one on the passive, so I'll give you a little bit of leeway on this one if you've got a couple.
I would probably say discipline if that is a skill, because the truth is that you have to be willing to show up and go through difficult periods as well as good periods in order to get to the good periods. So I think a lot of people I see try things for like a week and then give up. But the only thing that separates the ones that made it and the ones that didn't is not giving up. And I think that is how I would define discipline. It's just continuing. So even though that's kind of, I guess, an overlooked skill, I think it is probably the most important, because you could be the most talented person in any room, but if you don't have the discipline to stick with it, it's wasted talent.
No one's ever said discipline before. I
Is
think that's
it?
the first time I've heard that answer.
I like to
So
be
in
different.
60-something episodes, that's a solid answer.
What are the common ones?
Communication's a big one.
That's a good
Communication's been a big one because, again, using your example, you could be the most talented person in the room, but if you can't communicate your value, if you can't communicate a message in some way or form, again, it's like wasted talent because no one will ever know what you were capable of doing. But to even practice your ability to communicate, you have to have the discipline to practice.
You have to do the reps to be able to get good at the thing. So, yeah.
I'll take discipline as a foundational skill from this point forward. Love it. What would you say is your most transformational book or movie that you absolutely love and you've learned a key lesson from, if any?
Book or movie? Well, I don't actually read that much. I recently bought a book to read by Dan Priestley.
Oversubscribed?
Yes. Yeah. So I haven't started reading it yet, but
it's one of the best.
Is it?
So all of Daniel Priestley's books are by far the most practical books I've ever come across.
Oh, good.
So Oversubscribed, 24 Assets, and Scorecard, I think it is. They're all incredible. So especially around the business side, super helpful.
Okay, yeah. I guess it's not a movie, but a TV show, which I'm actually rewatching for like the third time right now, is Suits, the American law firm show.
Yeah, I knew there was a reason why we got along.
Is that one of your favorites?
Suits is one of my favorite by far.
Do you know what? It's like it engages my brain like no other show, because it's not one of those where like I could just sit back and like be doing something on my phone whilst I'm watching. Like I actually want to like sit down and like try and understand what's going on. It's all very technical, but like just like Harvey Specter is so badass, isn't he? Like he's just so cool. But yeah, no, I really like that show, and I feel like every time I watch it, it makes me so motivated to like try and want to do well, because I'm just seeing Harvey Specter like kick ass.
So I'm going to be starting Suits for the 8th time today again. I've been scrolling past it on Netflix every now and then for the last couple of weeks now, and I'm like, should I start it again? Should I not? But yeah, I absolutely love it. There's a lot of motivational stuff behind it for sure. And yeah, Harvey Specter is a legend. Final question for you. What's the one positive message that you would love to share with the world listening today?
That's such a good question. I've never been asked that before. I guess positive message, I would say positive message. Mine's drawing a blank. I'm trying not to talk about myself.
No, it's whatever resonates.
I guess a positive message I would say is when I started out my journey, I felt like I was at rock bottom, and within the space of like 4 years, I've managed to build up so much to the point where I would never have believed I'm in the position now. I would never have believed that 4 years ago. So I guess I would say, obviously, relatively speaking, I wasn't at like rock bottom in the grand scheme, but at the time it felt so bad when I couldn't find a job and I'd graduated and everyone around me was getting jobs and offers and doing these things, and I was like literally stuck at home with nothing to do. And I guess the only thing I could say is it felt so bad at the time, but it was only small steps. Like I was only 1 10-minute task away from my life changing. And at the time it didn't feel like that. It felt like a mountain to climb, but it wasn't a mountain to climb. It was just small actions that have bigger consequences when you compound it over time. So I guess the positive message is for anyone that feels like they're in a bit of a hole, it's not a mountain that you need to climb. It's just small repetitive tasks that will hopefully give you a better outcome in time.
What a mic drop moment to finish on. You're only 1 10-minute task away from changing your life.
Yeah.
Tim Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.